Hi, I'm Lindsay Bugby from The Postman's Knock, and today we're going to talk about how to improve your print handwriting. Print handwriting is complicated because, in my opinion, it's actually more difficult to write in neat print than it is in neat cursive. And that's because if you're going to write in neat print, you really need to give it your full concentration, and your hand can't just glide across the page like it can with cursive. So with print, the very first thing is the same if you're doing print, cursive, calligraphy, anything like that. You need to make sure you have a padding piece of paper underneath the paper that you're working on, which will give your pen or pencil some spring. The most vital ingredient of neat print handwriting is speed. So if you go really fast, let's see what happens. You can see here that it is tough to regulate the size of letters. This E right here nearly touches this top guideline, while the E down here is quite low. Everything just looks a little less legible. You've got an R here that looks like a V. It's just difficult to keep those letters nice and neat, but if we take it slow, let's see what happens. To me, these words don't even look like they were written by the same person, and they convey different things just because of the style that they were written in. So at the top here, we're seeing that the person who wrote it was in a rush, so maybe they're not respecting what they're doing very much, maybe not a lot of attention to detail here because they're not super concerned with staunch legibility. And then at the bottom, we've got immense attention to detail, somebody who wants to make sure you can read exactly what they're writing here. And the main difference, the only difference really, is speed. So slow down and you will be able to write print that really looks nice. Another thing to be mindful of is the way that you grip the pen. So a lot of people will try to convince you that there is a right or wrong way to grip your pen. I am not of that mindset. I feel like you should use the grip that works for you. The only thing I'm concerned with is clutching. So you can see that as I'm writing, my fingers are turning white because of all that pressure there. You need to loosen up on that pressure. Don't hold that pen. Don't hold it like you're holding on for dear life. You need to hold it nice and loose. And then as you write, you don't have a lot of tension, which is going to help you write nicer looking letters. And on that note, you need to make sure that your body is up for that too. So you're not hunching. Your shoulders are back. You're breathing nice and regularly, because a lot of times if we're concentrating, we do forget to breathe. So you just have this nice straight spine. You've got a loose grip, like a loose medium grip on the pen. Definitely none of your fingers are turning white from the grip being really, really strong. And again, I don't mind how you grip the pen as long as your body is nice and relaxed and can give you those fluid letters. Another thing I would like to encourage is paper rotation. I think that there's a part of us that feels like when we're writing, the paper should be nice and straight right in front of us, and we need to accommodate ourselves to that paper. No. move the paper to work for you. For me, as a right-handed person who writes with my particular grip, a nice counterclockwise rotation of my paper is the best position in order for me to achieve neat print handwriting. For a lefty, try rotating that paper clockwise, and also experiment with the placement of paper in relation to right or left. Feel free to move it over more to the right, over more to the left, just whatever gives you the best position. You should not be moving your body in order to accommodate the paper. The paper should be moving in order to accommodate your body. To write in neat and legible print, you just about have to have guidelines. So in cursive, you can get away with not having guidelines, because if you're not writing with guidelines and you start to notice that your words are sloping up, for example, you can then pull them down. So what I'm saying is strokes can go up or down, and we're not paying a lot of attention to the baseline of letters with cursive. With print, if your letters aren't all on that same base guideline, it's very noticeable. So let me show you. This word looks a little funky because it has sort of a wave to it. Whereas if you're writing in cursive, that base guideline not being consistent isn't as noticeable. Really, the only way to ensure that your letters are all on the same baseline is to use guidelines. If you can use guidelines that have a vertical component too, even better, because then you can ensure that your vertical strokes are perfectly vertical and they're not leaning to the left nor to the right. To that end, I like to use gridded paper or paper with dots. Sometimes I'll use notebook paper just with horizontal lines. For this video, I'm using page 6 of the Print Handwriting Fun and Practice worksheet. So that's a really great page to practice on if you want to get in that extra print handwriting practice. Before every writing session, it's a really good idea to do some drills to get your hands warmed up. And on page 1 of the Print Handwriting Fun and Practice worksheet, I've got several drills for you to try. So these drills echo common strokes that you will find in letters. They help you to work on those strokes, and they also help you to work on spacing, which is quite vital in writing neat print handwriting because you can really tell whether letters aren't spaced well. So do those drills that are in the worksheet, or if you don't have the worksheet, you can always just draw some drills that are similar to these. So if you can make some drills that look like little tallies, maybe make some U's, maybe make some connected V's. And then, of course, lots of letters include a circle component. Just a great way to get that hand warmed up and prepare yourself for writing at a consistent, slow, and steady speed. Since you're watching this video, I assume that you already know how to write in print, but do not discount the value of getting in some letter practice. In the Print Handwriting Fun and Practice worksheet on page 2 here, I have provided copious practice opportunities so you can try on these letter forms and see which forms work for you best, and also just practice writing in legible print. So for a lot of us, we've been writing in print since we learned to write, because here in the US at least, we start off learning how to write in print. And along the way, you've probably picked up some habits that might have affected your legibility as you write. So this is a great way to start from scratch and break those habits by practicing writing your letters over and over again, and make some new habits and come up with some new letter forms that might connect with you a little bit better than the letter forms that you're using. I also think it's important to try out different versions of letters. So here with the G, you've got this traditional G here that we often use in print handwriting, but then you've got this more interesting G that ends with a loop at the bottom. So this worksheet provides a great chance to try on different letter forms and see what seems to really reflect your personality and what you're trying to convey better. One of my personal challenges with writing in print is making the handwriting look professional, because a lot of times I'll write something and I'll think, okay, that looks really juvenile. So over the years, I have developed several ways to make the writing look a little more professional, a little more adult. And one of the ways I like to do that is to switch up the styles of letters. And not only does that add some personality to my writing, but it also emphasizes that whatever I wrote was not written by a computer. So you can see that in this phrase, I've used this style of G here, but then the next G is a totally different style. That slow and consistent writing speed that we talked about is also going to help you churn out more professional looking letters. So after a while of writing, you start to speed up a little bit because it's tough to keep on going slow. But anytime you speed up, that's when you get shaky, unprofessional looking letters. Like you can see here on possible, I kind of messed up on these shaky S's. They should be much neater and not have a shake to them. So don't let yourself mess up in that way. Just keep it slow. Keep on telling yourself, go slow. Don't let yourself speed up. If you do speed up and you notice that you have shaky looking letters, that is a surefire sign that you need to slow down a little bit. Consider too how you can set your letter forms apart. Like I said, I have provided you with alternate letter forms here, but these are just suggestions and they're not super creative suggestions. I would recommend thinking about how, for example, you could add a tail to certain letters consistently. So you could write something like kitchen, and then you vow to yourself that every time you come to a K, you are going to include that nice long tail, which really sets your print handwriting apart and gives it some adult personality. To achieve neat and legible print handwriting, you also need to pay attention to spacing. And that means both the spacing between letters and the spacing between words. So when you start off writing a sentence, you want to set a precedent, okay? So when I started writing this sentence, the space that I included between the and wizard is about the amount of space that I know I need to include between all the words from there on out. And the same with the letters. You just have to make sure you have that consistent spacing between those. So pay a lot of attention to that. And that's one thing that you can really only perfect with practice. My last tip for improving your print handwriting is to be patient. Some of the tips that we talked about today, like adjusting your writing speed, can be implemented immediately. But a lot of components of that are not going to come easily, and they're not going to come to you every writing session. It's something that you're going to have to tell yourself over and over. Okay, slow down, slow down. The same with spacing. Spacing is going to come with a lot of time and practice. You just have to keep on adding to your skill set and keeping these things in mind every writing session. And then eventually over time, it becomes second nature. So don't be discouraged if you try today and your print doesn't look as neat as you want it to be. Just the fact that you're thinking about these things and you're being mindful of implementing them will ensure that you can build up that skill set over time, and eventually it will be second nature. If you'd like to start building your neat print handwriting foundation with a worksheet, I've got two really nice options for you. The first is a one-page free basic worksheet. So this worksheet has all of the letters and then a pangram for you to try. It doesn't have instructional arrows or drills, but just this little bit of practice will go a long way in getting you to think about how to implement these changes to make your handwriting better. The second worksheet option is a 6-page premium worksheet, and you can see here you've got a little more information, you've got drills to fill out, and then you have a lot more letter form practice, including more tracing opportunities, and then you've got directional arrows as far as how to form these letters. You also have the alternate letter forms that we chatted about. And when you're done, you move on to several pangrams. My favorite is the one about Jennifer Lopez because that's awesome. And then you're going to work on pangrams in different languages, Spanish, French, Italian, and Dutch. And at the very end, you've got this page of graph paper. I hope that this video connects you with some handwriting tips that are helpful going forward, and similarly, I hope that one of TPK's print handwriting worksheet sets can help you, whether that's the basic version or the premium version. I have download links for both of those in the video description. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.